There's one phone brand that's currently selling millions of devices while systematically destroying your privacy, slowing down after 6 months and becoming unusable after 18 months. They spend more on marketing than engineering. Their update support is a joke. And the brand at number one on this list isn't who you think it is. We're ranking the top 10 phone brands from worst to best based on build quality, software support, privacy practices, longevity, and actual value. And the results are going to make some of you very angry. 10. Blue. The budget trap. You should never fall for why they're dead last. Blue phones are cheap for a reason. They're essentially e-waste out of the box. A 2017 security audit found Blue devices sending user data to servers in China without permission. Text messages, call logs, contacts, all transmitted to third-party servers. They claimed it was a mistake. The security researchers said it was intentional firmware. But here's what makes Blue uniquely terrible. Zero software updates. You buy a Blue phone, you're stuck on whatever Android version it shipped with forever. Security patches don't exist. Your $100 phone will have unpatched vulnerabilities within 3 months that malware can exploit trivially. Build quality is laughable. Screens crack from waist height drops. Charging ports fail within 6 months. Batteries degrade to 60% capacity in a year. You're not saving money. You're buying a disposable phone that'll be unusable before you finish paying it off. The only reason to buy Blue, you need a burner phone for a month, and then you're throwing it away. That's it. That's the only use case. 9. Mindtrove TCL Alcatel. When a TV company makes phones, TCL makes decent budget TVs. Their phones are not decent anything. They license the Alcatel and BlackBerry names to sell rebranded Chinese phones with zero quality control. The software is a disaster. TCL ships phones with Android 10 in 2024. Not even Android 11. Android 10. And they'll never update it. Security patches come 6-8 months late, if they come at all. The UI is bloated with pre-installed garbage apps you can't remove. But here's the real problem. Hardware fails spectacularly fast. The TCL 20 Pro, their flagship, has screen failure rates above 15% in the first year. That's not normal. Quality phones have failure rates under 2%. TCL phones are 3 times worse than budget Samsung phones and cost the same. Performance is trash. Processors from 2019 struggling to run 2024 apps. 4 GB of RAM that's actually 2.5 GB after system bloat. Storage that's half full with pre-installed junk. You're buying handicapped hardware. When to buy TCL? Never. You're better off buying a used phone from a real manufacturer than a new TCL. 8. Motorola. The fallen giant that gave up. Motorola used to be legendary. They invented the cell phone. The RAZR was iconic. The Moto X was innovative. Then Lenovo bought them and turned them into a budget mediocrity factory. The problem is apathy. Motorola releases 47 different phone models per year with zero meaningful differentiation. The Moto G Play, G Power, G Pure, G Stylus, G Fast. They're all the same phone with minor spec changes. It's impossible to know which one you're buying or why. Software support is abandonment. Motorola promises one major Android update. 1. Samsung gives 4 years of updates. Google gives 7. Motorola gives you one update, ships it 9 months late, and calls it support. But here's what really kills Motorola. They peaked with the Moto Z line in 2016 and have been coasting on reputation ever since. Every new phone is slightly worse than the last. They're not trying to innovate. They're trying to extract maximum profit from minimum effort. Performance degrades fast. Your Moto G starts smooth, then after 6 months it's lagging, opening text messages. After a year it's randomly restarting. After 18 months you're shopping for a replacement. Planned obsolescence disguised as budget pricing. When Motorola makes sense, if you need a $200 backup phone and don't care that it'll be unusable in a year, that's it. 7. Made OnePlus. The flagship killer that became what it killed OnePlus. Built their reputation on flagship specs at half the price with the OnePlus One in 2014. They were the scrappy underdog fighting Samsung and Apple with better value. Then they became exactly what they claimed to hate. The OnePlus 12 costs $800. That's not half the price of a flagship. That's flagship pricing. The value disappeared. Now they're just another expensive Android phone, except with worse cameras than Samsung and worse software than Google. But here's the betrayal. They merged with Oppo, their parent company, and lost their identity. Oppo's bloated garbage. The software that made OnePlus special is gone. Now it's just another Chinese phone with expensive marketing. Update support improved, but still lags. 4 years of updates sounds good until you realize Samsung and Google offer the same thing. OnePlus isn't competitive anymore. They're just catching up to what others have done for years. Build quality is fine. Specs are fine. Everything is fine. That's the problem. OnePlus went from exciting to boring. They're not bad phones. They're just pointless. Why buy a OnePlus when Samsung does everything better for the same price? When OnePlus makes sense, if you really hate Samsung's UI and don't want a Pixel, that's a narrow use case. 6. Niche. Amazing. Hardware ruined by terrible software. Xiaomi makes phones with flagship specs at mid-range prices. The Xiaomi 14 has a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, 12 GB RAM, and 512 GB storage for $600. Those specs cost $1,200 in a Samsung. The hardware is legitimately impressive. Then you turn it on and MIUI assaults your senses. Xiaomi's Android skin is the most aggressive, bloated, ad-filled disaster in the Android ecosystem. Ads in the settings menu. Ads in the file manager. Pre-installed apps you can't remove. Notifications begging you to use Xiaomi services. But here's the inexcusable part. Even with ads disabled, MIUI is still terrible. Animations are janky. The UI is inconsistent. Permissions are confusing. Updates break things regularly. It's like Xiaomi hired designers who've never used a phone before. Privacy concerns are real. Xiaomi collects more data than any Android manufacturer except maybe Huawei. Browser history, app usage, location data, all sent to Xiaomi servers. You can disable some of it, but not all of it. And you shouldn't have to spend hours disabling tracking on a device you paid for. Update support is acceptable now. 4 years of updates, but they arrive 6 months late compared to Samsung or Google. Better than Motorola, worse than everyone above them on this list. When Xiaomi makes sense, if you can tolerate MIUI hell, or you're willing to install custom ROM firmware, the hardware is excellent. The software is punishment. 5. ASUS. The gaming phone nobody needs. But some people love. ASUS makes exactly one thing: gaming phones. The ROG phone series is aggressively targeted at mobile gamers, with specs that would be overkill for 99% of users. 24 GB of RAM, active cooling fans, 165 Hz displays, shoulder triggers. It's ridiculous. But here's the thing. If you're in that 1% who actually games heavily on mobile, the ASUS makes the best gaming phone, period. Nothing else comes close. The hardware is engineered specifically for sustained performance. The ROG phone maintains full speed for hours. The problem is everyone else. If you're not a mobile gamer, there's zero reason to buy an ASUS phone. The camera is mediocre. The software is forgettable. The design is gamer aesthetic, which means LED lights and angular edges that look ridiculous in professional settings. Update support is surprisingly good. ASUS commits to 2 years of major updates and 4 years of security patches. Not class-leading but acceptable for a niche manufacturer. Battery life is incredible. 6000 mAh batteries that last 2 days easily, but the phones are also thick and heavy, 190 plus grams. You're carrying a brick. When Asus makes sense, you play Genshin Impact, Call of Duty Mobile, or PUBG for hours daily. That's the target audience. Everyone else should keep scrolling. For my thing. The hype phone that actually delivers mostly nothing is the new company founded by OnePlus's co-founder after OnePlus sold out. The Nothing Phone 2 is what OnePlus should have been. Unique design, play clean software, good specs, fair pricing. The glyph interface is either brilliant or gimmicky, depending on your perspective. LED lights on the back that flash for notifications and charging status. Some people love it. Some people think it's dumb. But at least it's different. When every phone looks identical, Nothing dared to try something new. Software is clean. Nothing OS is close to stock Android with minimal bloat. Updates come fast, often faster than Samsung. 3 years of major updates and 4 years of security patches. That's competitive with everyone except Google. Not bad, but not great. The Nothing Phone 2 takes good photos in daylight and mediocre photos in low light. If photography is important to you, Samsung or Google are better choices. Build quality is solid. Gorilla Glass front and back, aluminum frame, decent water resistance. Not flagship tier, but better than most phones at this price point. Performance is excellent. Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 in the phone 2 handles everything smoothly. No lag, no stuttering, no thermal throttling. It just works. When nothing makes sense, you want something different that isn't trying to be an iPhone clone. You care more about unique design and clean software than ultimate camera performance. 3. Mighty Samsung. The safe choice. That's actually great. Samsung makes excellent phones. The Galaxy S24 series is genuinely great. Amazing screens, versatile cameras, powerful processors, excellent build quality. One UI has evolved from bloated garbage into a feature-rich Android skin that many prefer to stock Android. Update support is now class-leading. 7 years of security updates on flagship models. That matches Google and destroys everyone else. Your $1,200 phone will be supported until 2031. That's longevity. But here's why they're not higher. Samsung has become complacent. The S24 is barely different from the S23, which was barely different from the S22. Innovation has stalled. They're refining a mature product instead of taking risks. The pricing is getting ridiculous. The S24 Ultra costs $1,300. That's iPhone money. For a phone that loses half its value in a year. Samsung's resale value is trash compared to Apple. You're paying flagship prices for mid-tier depreciation. Bloatware is still a problem. Samsung ships phones with duplicate apps for everything. Samsung Internet instead of Chrome. Samsung Messages instead of Google Messages, Samsung Pay, Samsung Health, Samsung Notes. You can disable most of it, but you shouldn't have to. The mid-range is where Samsung shines. The Galaxy A54 gives you 90% of flagship experience for $450. That's actually good value. The flagships are overpriced. The mid-range phones are appropriately priced. When Samsung makes sense, you want the safest, most well-rounded Android phone with guaranteed long-term support, and you don't care about paying full price for marginal improvements. 2. My2, Google Pixel. The pure Android experience done right. Google makes Android, so their Pixels run Android exactly as intended. No duplicate apps. No manufacturer skin-changing everything. Just pure Android with Google's AI features layered on top. The Pixel 8 series gets 7 years of updates. Not 7. Buy a Pixel 8 in 2024. It's supported until 2031. That's unprecedented in Android. Your phone will outlast most relationships. The cameras are the best in Android. Computational photography magic means Pixel takes better photos than phones with technically superior camera hardware. Night sight is still unmatched. The Pixel 8 Pro competes with iPhone 15 Pro in photography. That's saying something. But here's Google's weakness. Hardware reliability is inconsistent. The Pixel 6 had modem issues. The Pixel 2 had screen problems. The Pixel 5 had gap issues. Google's quality control isn't as consistent as Apple's or Samsung's. When it works, it's great. When it doesn't, you're dealing with warranty replacements. The Tensor processors are weird. Google designs their own chips now, instead of using Qualcomm Snapdragon. They prioritize AI features over raw performance. This means Pixel phones feel fast for normal tasks, but struggle with sustained gaming or heavy multitasking compared to Snapdragon phones. The best value in smartphones lives here. The Pixel 8a gives you flagship camera performance, 7 years of updates, and pure Android for $500. That's half the price of an iPhone 15, with similar longevity. It's objectively the best value in smartphones right now. When Pixel makes sense, you want the best Android experience. Don't care about gaming performance, value software support over everything else, and want the best camera in Android. One Minden Apple iPhone. The phone you'll keep for 5 years. But here's the reality. iPhones last longer, maintain value better, and provide more consistent experiences than any Android phone. That's not opinion. That's measurable fact. Software support is unmatched. The iPhone XR from 2018 just got iOS 17 in 2024. That's 6 years of full feature updates. No Android manufacturer except Google comes close. You buy an iPhone, it's supported for 5, nearly 6 years minimum. That's device longevity you can't get anywhere else. Resale value is absurd. A 3-year-old iPhone 12 sells for $400. A 3-year-old Samsung S21 sells for $200. After 3 years, an iPhone retains 50% of its value. Samsung retains 25%. If you upgrade every 2, now 3 years, iPhone is actually cheaper long-term despite higher upfront cost. The ecosystem is the trap that's actually great. Apple Watch only works with iPhone. Macs sync perfectly with iPhones. Once you're in the ecosystem, leaving is painful, but that pain exists because everything actually works together reliably. But here's why iPhone isn't perfect. You're locked into Apple's decisions. Want a headphone jack? Too bad. Want expandable storage? Doesn't exist. Want to sideload apps? Until recently, impossible. You accept Apple's limitations, or you don't buy iPhone. Customization is limited. Android lets you change everything. iPhone lets you arrange icons on a grid. If you want deep customization, iPhone will frustrate you. If you want things to just work, iPhone is perfect. Repair costs are criminal. Broken screen on iPhone 15 Pro, $379. Broken screen on Samsung S24, $249. Battery replacement, $99 from Apple versus $50 for Samsung. Apple's repair pricing is designed to make you buy a new phone instead of fixing the old one. Privacy is the killer feature nobody talks about enough. Apple's entire business model is selling hardware, not selling your data. They have no incentive to track you. Google's business is advertising, so they have every incentive to track you. If privacy matters to you, and it should, iPhone wins by default. When iPhone makes sense, you keep phones 3+ years. You value consistency and reliability over customization. Privacy matters to you, and you can afford the upfront cost. That describes most people. The real rankings come down to what you value. If you want pure value, best camera, 7 years of updates, $500. If you want longevity, iPhone. You'll keep it for 5 years, and it'll still work perfectly. If you want the best Android experience, Pixel 8 Pro. Pure Android plus Google AI magic. If you want the safest choice, Samsung Galaxy S24. It won't excite you, but it won't disappoint you. If you want something different, Nothing Phone 2. Unique design, clean software, good price. What you should absolutely avoid, BLU, TCL, and budget Motorola. You're not saving money. You're buying e-waste that'll be useless in 18 months. The worst brands aren't making bad phones. They're making disposable phones and pretending they're real products. The best brands understand that a phone is a 3-5 year investment, not an annual replacement. Choose accordingly.